The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bommarito Automotive Group. Bommarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership, and they are proud to represent the #1 podcast in St. Louis, the STL Bucket List Show. We've personally purchased several vehicles from Bommarito, including our last one, which we recently just had another baby, so we had to upgrade to an SUV with third row seating. The entire team, John, Chuck, they all treated us like family. There's really nowhere else that we would buy a car in Missouri other than Bommarito Automotive Group. Enjoy the show.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on, they'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
St. Louis, we're back with another episode of the STL Bucket List Show, highlighting the people, places, and events that make St. Louis special. We started this podcast over 3 years ago, and we've had conversations with entrepreneurs, business leaders, makers, entrepreneurs, tons of entrepreneurs on this show. And we have one of those people that's making an impact not only in St. Louis, but across the nation, maybe the world. We have Larry from Dad Edge, the Dad Edge, in the studio today. Larry, we've been trying to get this thing going. I'm a follower of your brand as a new dad, so I'm excited to have you in the studio.
It's an honor to be here, man. So honored to be here. This is fun.
No, that's awesome, man. So for those that don't know who you are, and maybe not even know about your brand, give us a little backstory on the Dad Edge, because you've been doing this. You're not new to the content creation influencer game. You were on it before people were even on it. So tell us a little bit about the brand and what your mission is.
Man, my mission is really just to empower men out there, just to help them with fatherhood, help them with marriage, help them connect with their kids, connect with their wife, the mindset around fatherhood. Because if you really look at like anything that we're really, really good at, like our job, or even like, a microphone, or I know you're in the marketing space.
Yeah.
We've been trained to do those things. We've learned how to do those things. And I know you're a new dad as well. And it's almost like you go home with this kid and they're like, hey, best time of your whole life. Don't worry, you'll figure it out.
No.
You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, if you're anything like I was and still am, I felt very unequipped for that.
Yeah.
And where did Dad Edge get started? I think it really kind of got started when I was a kid. My mom and biological father got divorced when I was like 9 months old, and I never knew my dad and didn't know him at all. And then my mom got remarried when I was 5. She stayed married to that man for about 5 years, and then he left. And I had no clue that I actually had a biological father out there until I was about 10. Mm-hmm. And just to shorten a really long story, I'll make it super short. I started asking a lot of questions. Like, where did I come from? Because I thought the guy that she married was my dad. I actually thought that moms just go out and find dads. Like, that's actually how I thought a dad came around.
Yeah, that's good.
And when I was 12, I had an opportunity to actually meet my biological father, and he was remarried and had a son, and turned out he lived 3 miles from us. I didn't even know it. And we had a relationship for about 6 months. And then after 6 months, unfortunately, it went south. And I didn't see him. And my mom continued to date, and she got married one more time when I was 18. And there was a lot of chaos going on, as a kid. A lot of father figures were just really toxic, partiers, abusers, that kind of thing. And then the crazy thing happened. I went on to college. I met my college sweetheart. I met my college sweetheart, married her. She's in studio with us today. And interesting thing happened when I was 30. 2 things. So I was in the medical device industry. I was selling medical devices in the OR. Mm-hmm. And I had a meeting every single Monday with my team. And Jessica and I were newly married, and we were expecting our first son. And I was at a Starbucks in West County on Ballas and Olive. Mm-hmm. And who came walking in for his morning coffee but my biological father, who I hadn't seen since I was 12. And that interaction turned into what has now been a 20-year relationship with him. And he's still married to the same wonderful woman, has been for 45 years. I have 2 younger half brothers. My youngest brother I'm really, really tight with. Mm-hmm. And but I'll tell you how Dad Edge got started, which was originally the Good Dad Project. It got started when I got married, and when I became a dad, I promised myself a few things. Number one, I was going to be a good husband. Number 2, I was going to be a patient, calm father. And number 3, I was never going to hit my children out of anger. And one thing I can tell you is I broke all 3 of those promises. And Dad Edge got started on an evening where my 17-year-old was 4 and he stepped out of line. And that was the first time and the last time I ever laid hands on my kids. And I spanked him. And unfortunately, I spanked him so hard that he hit the ground and he lost his footing. And when I went to help him up, the icing on the cake was, I was like, oh my God, like immediately I was like, oh my gosh, like what did I just do? And I was kind of like beating myself up mentally. And I went to like go pick him up and he literally rolled over and he looked at me and closed his eyes and just did this. Like he was defending himself against me. And I was like, what am I doing? Like literally. And I came from like a lineage of dudes who were just physically, mentally, emotionally just beat you down, like these guys that my mom was with. And I was like, this has got to stop with me. And the Dad Edge has been in existence. You know, the podcast started in 2015, but it was around 3 years before that. And I was tinkering with it, but it was really like, this is a place of learning. It's a place where common men can learn uncommon things and learn the skills to be better. And it really started with me being like, I do not have this figured out.
Yeah.
And that's the way I still look at it. Every podcast I do, I'm in that student seat and I'm just trying to learn from that guest, from that expert to extract their expertise. But yeah, it's a learning environment.
Wow, that's such an interesting story. And I think you mentioned something right at the beginning is like you feel unequipped. So I'm at work all day and I feel like I'm in control of everything.
Yeah.
I'm telling people what to do. I'm, closing a deal. I'm scheduling something. And then when I get home, my wife is so much better than me at being a caretaker. And you almost feel like I can't soothe I have a 4-month-old and it's like I can't get her down to sleep sometimes. My wife does in like 5 seconds. And, and then you feel like you go back in the room and you're just like, I can do everything else. And then another thing that I'm struggling with is you're not showing up 100% at home, but then you're not showing up 100% for your team at work. So like you feel like you're failing everybody at the same time, when in all reality, you're probably not. But as a high performer and as an entrepreneur, you feel like you should just be able to, solve issues with delegating. There's no delegating fatherhood, and that's something I'm struggling with right now. But it is the best time of your life. It is very hard. I'm very tired right now.
100%. Yeah. I mean, you nailed it. I mean, but you think about it, like how we are in the workplace, right? I mean, that this is where men, I think, get the most amount of validation. Like we know if we're doing a good job, all we have to do is, talk to our clients, look at our numbers. We know like we're out slaying dragons. The way we compare this in the Dad Edge for especially entrepreneurs is the entrepreneur dad is like, it's like the castle.
Yeah.
He's building the moat, right? He's got the warriors at the top, like all the what ifs, right? He's doing all those things. And then the wife, like if she's a stay-at-home mom, like it's inside, it's the warmth, the comfort, the emotional things that are going on. And for a highly driven entrepreneur, this is actually why we actually created what we call the Dad Edge Business Boardroom Mastermind, because that's exactly what entrepreneurs go through. Is they're type A. We're very driven people, and our success is because we're of that drive, and we have the know-how, and we'll do anything to make things happen. In the home front, it's like, whoa, this is a very different world, right? And the same things that got me here on the outside, not necessarily the same things will get me here on the inside. The drive is great, right? That desire and that drive is great.
Yeah.
But usually the miss is the implementation of it.
First Community Credit Union is the official banking partner of STL Bucket List. They've been serving St. Louis families for 90 plus years with 40 plus local branches and over 400,000 members. From personal credit loans to mortgages to kids and teen accounts, they also have a partnership with the STL Blues. You see Louie here if you're watching on YouTube. We're proud to use First Community. I use it for my own family and my own business. We're excited for them to be the official banking partner of STL Bucket List.
That's the tough part.
And that's what you help, So you've built this global community. You're based here in the St. Louis area. How has the city helped shape what you've been doing for this community? And like, how has it been to meet people globally, but then also be able to help people in your own backyard too?
It's what I can tell you. So for St. Louis, we've actually have hosted like events here, like Core Complex when it was around the Ninja Warrior. So we did events there every now and again. We've done events at like Upper Limits and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is that when you share like the Dad Edge and the mission with other businesses here in St. Louis, man, it's it's a much different reception, especially, you know, if that business is family owned. You know, it's almost like, whoa, like that's really cool. You know, that we can create a community and an organization, you know, around that, a movement around that. St. Louis area has been great because I think it's a tight knit group already. And the cool thing about it is I think most men, if you really look at most men, like what type of relationships do we have in our life? We have those relationships that are kind of surface level. They're kind of rusty. You know, they're kind of like everything we can answer is fine, good, or busy, crazy, boring. You know, like we one word answers. But in the St. Louis area, it's different here. You know, there's depth here. You know, it's like everyone says there's 6 degrees of separation. I think in St. Louis there's like 1. You know. And when you start to share what you're doing in the St. Louis community, what I've noticed is a lot of men, a lot of business owners out here, a lot of families, like they're really, really open to like, wow, that's kind of the depth that St. Louis already sort of is. And it's cool to have conversations and relationships like that with people here.
No, that's amazing. So you've interviewed thousands of people, you know, you've had all these incredible conversations with top leaders, authors, thinkers, influencers, you know, all these different people. Was there one episode that I should go back and listen to that personally hit home for you, or that would be a good place where maybe people should start at if they're at the beginning of their dad edge journey?
That's a great
There's
question.
a lot of good
There's
ones.
there's so many. I think it's always good though to maybe reference like some of the people that people would know right off the bat. So I did interview Matthew McConaughey. He was pretty awesome to interview.
He's amazing. I read his book. It's great.
Green Lights was great. And it's always really cool. Like I've interviewed a lot of Hollywood actors and professional athletes and that kind of thing, but they always they always really dig into this fatherhood and marriage topic, and they love talking about it. And I would say the McConaughey interview is really, really great. A fascinating interview is also John Bernthal, he's also the Punisher. Kind of a funny story about him. He invited me to come on his podcast, The Real Ones. And so I met him in person. We hung out for half a day. I can tell you that guy, he is the real deal, just a real dude, just a great guy. But he was so real on my podcast as well, because I had him as a guest on mine, just how important fatherhood is to him. And there's like we look at these people like these A-list Hollywood actors, and like they all got their stuff together, and one thing that John really talked about is like, he's like, dude, I put my pants on the same way as every other dad. Like I'm just really trying to figure this out. And but the heart of that man was so good. Another one too that I thought was insanely fascinating was Nikki Sixx, the founder of Motley Crue. And just to hear his journey, you know, from rock star to what he's doing now to 24 years, I think now, of sobriety, and just how important it is for him even to be a dad. And the last one I'll share, one of my top favorites was Sean Patrick Flannery, who is in Boondock Saints and his latest movie, Nefarious. And he's got 2 boys, and I still talk to him quite a bit. And just the heart of that man as a family man, even though he's a big actor, like he said this on my show. He's like, I'm a husband and a dad, and I also enjoy acting. So just things like that, about just to get these, you see them on TV, but when you just hear how their mind and how their heart works, it's fascinating.
Yeah, there's so many amazing conversations, even what we've had locally, and like the bond that you can build. And what I love about your group is my wife has all these different resources online, how to breastfeed, how to sleep train, how to do this. But like, I haven't really found that many resources for guys. And it's because guys are just, it's like you see the Gary V's of the world and the Grant Cardones of the world, and they're like just talking about business, but that's only a third of the day. If you work 8 hours a day, you still got another 16 hours. And it's like, I want to listen to people that have what I want. So I want to listen to people that have kids, you know, because people that don't have kids don't understand sometimes when it comes to just anything in life, you know, especially newborn kids like what we have now. So I'm going to check that one out, because the Punisher, I saw him in that, but he was in The Walking Dead too, wasn't he? That was like Shane, his first big thing. Yeah, it was first big thing. Yeah, he's a pretty badass dude too. It seems like, but Punisher, I mean, is insane.
Yeah. The funny thing about him too is like that I actually didn't watch The Punisher before I was on his podcast, and I was like, well, I'm really intrigued what he was like. And that guy is an insanely talented actor. For to meet him in real life, and he's like an everyday dude who will just drink a beer with you and hang out with you. But for him to play that part, he's very talented.
No, that's awesome. So I got a couple dad questions. I'm going to do a little shift. So I just became a dad. I have 2 girls, under 2. It's been been challenging. Like I said, I think that, bonding has been tough because there are still babies. So I think that comes like women, you get this she immediately, once they came out, it's like, I'm attached. It's like, took me a little bit of time. So how did you navigate? Cause you mentioned that a lot of your shifts happened after you already had kids, but like maybe not your first, but like going to your other kids with the Dad Edge formula, like how did you navigate, having multiple children and being able to, do that and still run your business and everything?
Yeah, so I have 4 boys. So I'm on the different side of this than you are.
Oh,
19,
wow.
1917.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's chaos.
Jessica is a martyr. She's a martyr. But yeah, 1917, 11 and 9. And
Oh, wow.
here's one thing I can tell you that and by the way, I'm still a student of this. Like I'm no guru. Like yes, I know a thing or two. I've been doing this for a decade. So, but here's a couple of things that I'll share with you. When it comes to our kids, a lot of us dads, and I know I was like this too, it's like X's and O's. It's like, you do this, I do this. You go here, you do that. School, this, that, performance, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, a lot of guys are like, how do I get my kid to do X, Y, and Z? And that fill in the blank, that X, Y, and Z could be a million different things. It could be like, how do I get my kid to talk to me? How do I get my kid to want to do better in school? How do I get my kid to do this, or this, right? It could be a plethora of things. Without connection, we have no influence. So if we're and I was the type, you can ask Jess, I was the type of dad, and sometimes I still, like, I'm moving so fast, I'll fall back into that place of like, I just want to go, and I kind of miss like that connection. It's like I want to get to the point versus like, hey, dude, tell me what the best part of your day was today. Tell me what made you smile today. And then what I'm looking for, I don't ask my kids anymore, how was your day? I haven't done that for a long time. Because what I really want is story. I want detail. I want to aim for their heart. I want that connection. So when I ask them something like, what was the best part of your day? I'll get a story out of that, right? And if they want to try to play the easy button, it would be like, I didn't have the best part of my day. I'd be like, all right, what'd you laugh at today? Who'd you sit with at lunch today? Who's your best friend and why? Things like that, where I'm trying to just really understand, look through the eyes of their world.
Mm-hmm.
And then we teach skills in there too, like, being a boss validator. If your kid is going through something tough, it's not necessarily fixing their problems. You could just be like, man, that sounds really frustrating. Just tell me more about that. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like, oh, you should do this, this, and this. I went in that situation too. You should do this, this, and this, because we want to fix problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not connection. That's lecturing, right? So there's another question that I like to ask too, because this is a big one. Your girls are small, and I have 2 older boys. My worries for them are much different than when they were 2. But the deposits like literally start like at the time you're at, and these little deposits. So like, for instance, I've always wanted to be the dad that like, I want my kids to, I'm their 3 a.m. call, like, hey, I'm in trouble. And my answer is, I'll be right there. Right. But in order for you to be that dad, what I've learned is that you've got to connect with them over time, and you have to create this environment called psychological safety. What that is that's an environment where your kids can talk to you with, and it's free from blame, shame, pain, and guilt. So like, for instance, one of the questions I would like to ask my kids, and it's a daily rep every single day, is like, what'd you fail at today? What was something that challenged you today? What was something that's hard for you today that you got through? And then kids have a hard time opening up to their parents, like, because there's fear that all those things, those 4 things will happen. When you can meet a kid where they're at, and I'm not saying that's consequence free, that's not what I'm saying, but like, so for instance, like, hey man, like, what happened today that was tough? And
Right.
if your kid goes, man, I got a D on the science test. And there's a part of you, it's like, I know you weren't studying. Like, come on, man. Like,
And just to get after him.
You were watching YouTube. Like, dude, we've talked about this, and I've been that dad. But instead, you're like, oh man, okay. I bet that took a lot of courage to tell me that. So like, what happened? Tell me about that. And then they'll tell you the story, like, of what happened. And maybe it was a miss. They didn't study as hard. And then we're really, really big on our house on growth mindset. Be like, okay, like, look, if you had to do this thing all over again and prep for this science test, what would you do different? And they'll map it out. They'll be like, well, I think I would have studied maybe one more night. Maybe I would have gotten up early and studied, the day of, and maybe I would have done this, this, or this. It'd be like, okay, well, when's your next test? Like, well, actually I got one next Friday. It says, well, you really sound like you've really got a plan of what you would do different. Like, how would you do it different for this coming test? And then instead of me, like, just badgering them and lecturing them what they should do, they're articulating their own problem, and then and their own solution. And when you can get a kid to do that, you become, in my opinion, one of the most interesting dads on the planet, because number one, it's actually less work. But number two, they feel really, really good about you being that sounding board, and they're solving their own problems.
Yeah.
So just things like that, rep after rep, day after day, connecting with them on their highs and their lows,
Mm-hmm.
and being the guy that can meet them with empathy and validation. Those are huge.
And you got to
man.
train yourself to do that, to be able
Oh my
to.
gosh, you got to get out of your own way.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like, what like little things can you consistently do, and that's the best one. There is, is making them be somebody you can talk to, because usually that person is the mom,
Right.
In my experience, and a lot of people other experience. So I think there's this new wave. I mean, what kind of and it might not even be data, but like, what are you seeing with dads wanting to be more present? I read a study that dads are actually around their kids more now than they ever were in the history of whatever, I forgot what the number was, but it's
Yeah.
like you're seeing dads be at every game. Sometimes that was not a thing,
No,
and dads being at every, like, just everything we're
Right.
trying. And I make my schedule around everything that I can get, and I'm usually there at every doctor's appointment, everything. And it's just, it is what it is. That's, it's the most important thing. So what are you seeing with the guys in your group? Or is that kind of the sentiment that you're getting to, is like, hey, I want to be there for everything? For over 150 years, SSM Health has been providing hope, healing, and opportunities to the St. Louis community. With over 40,000 employees across 4 states, they're not only delivering exceptional care, they're one of the region's largest employers, shaping the future of healthcare. We're proud to present SSM Health as the official healthcare partner of the STL Bucket List Show. If you've dreamed of a career where you're truly making a difference every day, SSM Health can help you take that to the next step. Learn more at their website in the link in the show notes.
I see men, same thing you're seeing.
Yeah.
I see men with like this deep, deep desire to show up, and to show up really, really big. And I'll tell you, I think that maybe comes from, like, you and I were more raised in, I'm in a generation ahead of you, but
Yeah.
we were kind of more raised in, I think, that generation of, like, the dads were more providers, and they just sort of, I would say box checkers, because there are some great dads out there, but I would say, like, they were there, but it was mom that was the caretaker. And we're seeing more and more dads, especially from environments where it was tough on them, where it's just like, not on my watch, man, this is not going to happen. And they are showing up to games. They want to go play with their kids. They want to connect with their kids. But here's the gap. We don't know what good looks like. We kind of know what it looks like, but we're just like, I don't know exactly how to get there. I'll share one quick example. I just took on a one-on-one client who's an architect, and we made the comparison. I was like, dude, I've never taken an architecture class my entire life. I was like, but I bet if I spent 6 months with you, you could really teach me the ins and outs of how you put together a building and how to design it and all this other stuff. Like, I know what a good building looks like, but I can't tell you how to build it.
Right.
And I was like, and it's the same, like, I'm helping him with marriage. I was like, it's the same thing with marriage. Like, I know how to help you build the marriage of your dreams. And that's the gap that you have. Each one of us have a gap of knowledge. It just depends on, what it is that I want at the end of the day. So it's not necessarily I see the desire. I do all day long, and I love the desire. The biggest problem that I see with men is they get very frustrated because that gap is there, and they're just like, I just don't know exactly how to build that building,
Yeah.
Whether it's my family,
Yeah.
and it's that implementation.
Yeah, it keeps coming back. And I think the implementation is the same with anything in life. A lot of people talk about things, but it's like, hey, you got to put in the work, and it might take 6 months, but hey, for 6 months to have 40 more happy years, it's worth it.
Oh man. Yeah. You said it.
So with your one-on-one clients, so tell me a little bit about your membership program. So obviously you have groups and different, so is that specific content going out? Is that, weekly calls, live calls, and then you have your one-on-one. So kind of give people a look for those dads. We have a ton of young dads listening to the show, and I know a lot of us are all in the same boat. So
Yeah. No, we have what's called the Dad Edge Alliance. This has been around for almost 10 years now. That is our W-2, like I call it the career guys.
Yeah.
And not that we want to ever separate, one group is better than the other, but the needs are just slightly different.
Yeah.
So we've got about 700 members in the Alliance, and that's a program. We have 52 Zoom group coaching sessions per week for those guys. Yeah. Wow. So I've got a leadership team of over 50 men who have been trained, and they facilitate group coaching environments. It's a learning environment.
Yeah.
And what we do is we give them monthly/weekly content on either it's parenting or marriage, connection, communication, mindset, health, finances, all of those things. And what we do is that content's out there, and it's live coaching. It's not like you're in front of a screen and you're just taking courses.
Mm-hmm.
We also have what's called the Dad Edge Business Boardroom. That's for our entrepreneurs. Now, that one's a little bit different. That one, we have a coach in there for business. Yeah. We also have a coach in there. I'm the marriage coach. We also have a coach in there for leadership and parenting. And then we have another coach in there that's for accountability and client success.
Mm-hmm.
The mind of an entrepreneur is a bit different. And I think, I don't have to explain this to you, but there's a lot of mental, emotional, and even physical bandwidth that goes out, in those hours of working. And by the time you get home, you're like, it kind of doesn't shut off. If you're a UPS driver, you can kind of shut it down. An entrepreneur, it's really tough for us to shut it down.
Yeah.
So we cater that program specifically for, we're going to help you continue to grow and scale your business, build the marriage of your dreams, while also having a great connection with your kids, health and wealth. So that's there. And my one-on-one clients, most guys reach out to me for marriage. That's where they really want, because that's definitely where I have fallen on my face the most. Ask her, she'll tell you. But I will also tell you that it's also the most fruitful area of my life now. Yeah. And it has been for a long time.
And it helps a lot of those other things. Good marriage. Totally. You're a lot better at work when you have a good marriage, and you're also a better dad too.
1,000%.
But I wanted to talk about turning it off, because although my job is not physically exhausting, like I might just be sitting here in the office for 8 hours, the stress of, the new building we bought, the financing, the new, the bills that are going out the door for all the studio that we just built, and all these different things. It's like, as a man, you want to be the provider. So these are all scary risks. Yeah. They're unsafe things to do, and have to work, and they will work. But when you get home, I'm exhausted. And sometimes I don't want to, because immediately the second I walk in the door at 4:45 is usually right when I get home. That's like the craziest time. From 4:45 to 7:30 bedtime is just on 10, dinner, baths, boom, boom. 7:30 comes, I'm like, whew, sit down. And then I'm like, I got to catch up, but then I end up I don't want to open my computer up at 7:30 and I can't. It's probably not the best thing to do. So I think that is because you're like, I didn't like work in construction all day, but sometimes those guys, you change out of your clothes, take a shower, and you're ready to go and be in dad mode. So I do think that I like that you separate that, because the guy that works at UPS is a lot different than the guy that, that owns his construction company or, or something like that. Kids might be on the same team, but they have different problems and different things that come with that. So I want to talk a little bit about marriage, because I feel like that's one thing as a young parent is my wife and I actually just had this conversation as like, when was the last time that we actually even had a conversation other than kids. Who's picking up the kid tomorrow or who's my mom coming over tomorrow? And then we lay in bed, and then we might be on our phone I might be replying to emails. She's trying to talk to me. And it's like, I didn't even talk to her today. We just co-parented today. And that happens like a lot of days.
It does. Yeah.
So is there any advice for that? I mean, do you guys have time blocks? What would be some quick tips that you could give us?
So I think so you're 30, I'll be 50 in a week.
Yeah.
And I know I don't look at you, you don't have to tell me, but
I didn't say anything. So I'm like, yeah, you do look good for 50.
But no, I'll tell you, I wish someone, it's funny, man. I'm actually, since I'm going to be 50 in July, I'm actually recording all my Friday shows of the advice I would have given myself at 50 at 30.
Nice.
Here's one, with marriage. I wish someone would have told me your wife needs 3 needs from you to be fulfilled. One is to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel safe. Now, let me just explain those really, really quickly. Seen is like, hey, I see the things you do. I appreciate the things you do. It's almost like you want to put a spotlight on some of the things that you see and appreciate about your wife. And it's almost like, hey, I appreciate this because, versus like, you look really hot in those yoga pants, right? That's a little bit different, which I do think that too, by the way.
But it's like actually like real, like thoughtful compliments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's acknowledgement and appreciation is what we call it. And then the herd, the hamster wheel, especially for an entrepreneur or any dad, it's just hard to get shut off. And, these things don't make it any better, know. And what I'll tell you is that if you can really, really lean in to your wife when she's talking or when you're having a conversation, and it's tough, man. We got 4 boys and my mind is always moving. And sometimes I'm like, just slow down, and listen, acknowledge, validate, connect. It's really connect. It's not like X's and O's. It's like, how can we connect? Right. And then the safe thing, this is the biggest button for women. And safety is like, well, I'm not going to hurt her. That's not what we're talking about. Safety is like, are you consistent? A consistent man? Are you a calm, consistent man? So like, for instance, if your kid spills milk, and trust me, I've been that dude where like the kid spills milk, are you going to be the trigger happy dad? Because if you think about it, like our level of anger and temperament and impatience really triggers their safety. So if we can be like that calm, playful, dad, and trust me, I need to work on that every day too. But that is a huge need for women. And then on the flip side, guys are like, well, what about us? Yeah, she needs to know these things too. For us, it's respect, it's appreciation, and it's physical affection. Those three things are what we need.
Mm-hmm.
And when each party truly understands, like, okay, like, how do I distinctly make Jessica feel heard, seen, safe? How does she distinctly respect me, appreciate me, physical affection?
Mm-hmm.
That right there is like one of the simplest, most foundational things.
Yeah.
But you're right. Also carving out time, like, if it's really hard with the little ones,
Mm-hmm.
but like, just even like, our thing is like, on Fridays, we'll at least try to get a coffee or a lunch or something like that, or we'll try to do a dinner on a weekend, something like that. But something where like, it's not mom and dad anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
the final thing I'll say is this: my kids are old enough now where we can ask them feedback. Even my 11-year-old, I'm like, what is it? How do you feel when you see mom and dad like love each other? And he'll joke and he'll be like grossed out, but then he'll be like, no, it makes me feel warm. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he'll use things like that. It makes me feel comfortable. And I think for him, and by the way, your kids' three basic needs are seen, heard, and safe too.
Yeah.
So when they see mom and dad really, really lock arms and things are good, dude, that sends your kids on like cloud nine too. A lot of people want to like put their kids first in the marriage, before the marriage. And
Mm-hmm.
what I tell you is like, put your marriage on that front burner, because your kids will feel safer around you, and they'll love that what you've co-created with your wife.
Looking for something light, crisp, and absolutely refreshing? Zwickle Light by Urban Chestnut is the official light beer of the STL Bucket List Show. It's less than 100 calories, and it's the perfect drink for summer. Enjoy a beer at the beer garden, in the Grove, or chilling at home in the backyard with your friends and family. This episode is sponsored by Upshot Coffee. 3 St. Louis area locations in Cottleville, Break Shop in St. Charles, and their new Hi-Fi location in Clayton. I personally use Upshot Coffee every day at my espresso machine at home, and I try to visit one of the shops at least once a week. They source the beans responsibly from local farms all across the world, and they take care of their staff, and they take care of the community. Let's get back to the show. Yeah, no, that's really good advice. But yeah, we've been in that, like that mode of like, even when we do go on a date night, we're worried about, we're talking about the kids, and we get home and it's not the same as it was sometimes. So like, we're really trying to focus on that. And I think I need to be better, because there's been times even last night where she's telling me what her plans are this week and I'm not listening at all, and I'm just on my phone. I'm like, hold on, let me get this email. But it's like, do I need to send that email? I think I was sending a confirmation email to you tomorrow. Yeah. I'm like, could I not just send that to this morning? Like, like, I'm always just urgent about everything except those things. So it's like, it's shifting your mind to like create urgency in your life to be there for the kiddos. But so is there any involvement with the wife or significant other or kids in your programs, or are you giving them training to go do and then report back? Or is there anything that you do where it's like, hey, I want to like have your wife jump on the call with me, or stuff like that? Or is it more just, hey, I'm going to give you the tools, you implement it, and then let me know how you did?
98% of the time I work with men. I do work with couples too, but it's mostly the men that I work with. And not to say that there isn't, another side of this that would, it just depends on the severity of the situation and that kind of thing. But it's mostly the guys. Yeah, we need it.
We need coaches, but guys are not coachable either, though. So that's kind of tough too. Or some
are, but you're right. I mean, some are like, it's it's like the desire, like there are men out there that have the desire, but it's really, are you willing to do the work? Which means there's desire, and then like we were saying before, then there's implementation and accountability, and that's where the real change happens, is right there with that implementation and accountability.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, as a dad of 4, I mean, what does legacy really mean to you? I mean, is it through your kids? Is it building something that maybe your kids could work with you at one point, or what does true legacy for your vision look like? And that's a big question.
True legacy, I think we always think of legacy as the materialistic things that I'll leave behind. We have a motto in our family, and that is Team Hagner is, we are in for experiences over stuff and connection over anything. So what we want, I'm not really interested in having piles of cash, or material things. When we think of legacy, we usually think of the things we leave behind. What I want is piles of pictures. And you can ask my wife. The last time I looked last night, I have 116,000 plus photos and videos in my iPhone. And that's what I want. My kids and my wife know me as the guy that I'm always taking the pictures. And it's not for posts. I would say I only post probably 2% of the pictures and videos that I take. But I want a stack of memories, experiences, and the things that we did together as a family, and those life lessons. Like, I'm really interested in raising really good men, that are gonna be an asset to society, and not a drain on society. And I want more than anything for them to have Physical resilience. I mean, we're a big fit family.
Mm-hmm.
Physical resilience for just proper health, but also mental resilience is a big one, but also high emotional IQ and conversational excellence in their relationships. That's the things I really want to pass down is because I look at my life as like there was a lot of things I probably could have passed on that weren't so great.
Mm-hmm.
And what I truly want is for our kids to have a better shot.
Yeah. And is that where that live legendary comes? That was your email signature too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, why did he say that? And I like noticed it was your email signature. You're like, hey, it was just a simple question. It just said live legendary.
Yeah.
That's cool to have that. The STL Bucket List Show is proudly sponsored by Suede Dispensary. With 11 Missouri area locations, Suede does so much for the St. Louis community. We've been working with this team for a couple years back since medical was here, and we're excited to support their new product launches, events, and community initiatives. We couldn't be happier to work with this premier cannabis brand, and we're excited for them to sponsor the show. Enjoy the rest of the podcast. So you have this podcast, you have this group, you're a dad first. I want to talk a little bit about St. Louis. So this is the STL Bucket List Show.
Yeah.
Let's just say, what is your favorite St. Louis area thing to do as a whole family? Is there something that's on your bucket list where it's like, hey, this is like, we really love doing this. And it might be around fitness, it might be around health, but is there anything in the St. Louis area? It doesn't have to be in St. Louis, it's just anywhere around St. Louis that's like, hey, that's the thing that we love to do with the family.
I would say, what were some of the things that come to mind for you? I know we've done the Arch, we've done Forest Park, those types of things. We're always at the zoo.
Yeah.
You can always find us there.
Yeah.
We love hiking. Like when I can hike, when I don't have a busted knee, like we definitely love hiking around the area.
Is there a specific place that you love?
Castlewood is one of our favorite spots just because it kind of overlooks. We're a big fan of also Ozark Outdoors. So we do a float trip every single year.
Yep.
We love it there. But I would say, you'll probably find us at a Blues game a couple times a year, a Cardinals game at least once a year. We definitely like to experience the cool things of St. Louis for sure.
Yeah, no, that's great. With 4 boys, I'm sure you're eating a lot too somewhere.
Oh my gosh, our grocery bill is insane. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, it's probably another mortgage for sure just to feed the kids and everything.
It's actually 2.
Is it? Yeah.
It's actually 2 mortgages.
Yeah, that's nuts. So what about you guys? So date night, Friday night, you mentioned coffee. Is there any of your favorite coffee spots or?
I love Picasso's.
Okay.
It's one
St.
of
Charles.
St. Charles. I also love, we're a huge fan of Prosno.
Okay.
Love that. Napoli 3 is another spot we love to go eat.
Yeah.
That's a great date night. We love the St. Louis Funny Bone. We were just there this past Saturday.
Nice.
Club 360. I'll take clients there when they're in town. I love Club 360.
Yeah.
Also, Jessica's uncle is the CFO for the group that owns that.
Is that the new one in Westport, or is it?
They own both, but
the
one downtown we've been to the most.
Yeah.
As far as a cool date spot we've been to, I really like None of the Above.
Yeah.
That's
a good spot. Yeah, I've been there twice. Yeah,
speakeasy
sick down there.
And the cool thing too is like another thing too with the kids, Top Golf. Like I know that's kind of a national thing, but also the Putt Shack. We'll take them down there too. We'll also do that on date nights.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are some of our spots.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, 360. We've done some really good date nights there. The one in Westport's super cool as well. But yeah, None of the Above is insane. I mean, the drinks down there. I mean, some of them are like $42 for one cocktail. Yeah. It's crazy. Are you a cocktail guy or just?
I actually don't drink.
Oh, you don't drink?
I used to drink, but I don't drink.
So you're
anymore.
a mocktail. You're like
I'll
mocktail.
drink mocktails. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're still like $20 for a mocktail.
They are. It's crazy, but they're pretty delicious. I mean, we go there for I've got clients and friends who drink, and so we'll go down there. But like, I still love going to bars and stuff like that, or out and that kind of thing. I just don't drink alcohol, but yeah, it's I love it's just a cool environment down there.
No, that's cool. So let's talk about St. Charles, because you mentioned St. Charles. Is there a hidden gem in St. Charles that our listeners should know about? I mean, you mentioned Picasso's, but you mentioned a lot of stuff right there on the streets of St. Charles, but like where at, and maybe even out, in the St. Charles, O'Fallon, Lake St. Louis area, like, is there any hidden gems out there that people should know about that listen to our show?
We like BC's. We've been there quite a few times. Yeah, the
that's
Meadows.
a good spot.
We do like that place quite a bit. I would say, what's another place that you say we've been to, like in St. Charles, that we really like, or in O'Fallon area? Yeah, we do love BC's though. Yeah, the Cottleville places. Yeah, so Frankie Martin's.
Frankie Martin's
love
is
it
nice.
there.
Yeah, there's that new Cottle Village. Have you guys been there yet? It's an outdoor music. That place looks sick.
What's that one place that you and the girlfriends went to, and they were Chris and Joe were there this past weekend? The one place, the
Oak Street?
restaurant.
Oak Street Inn?
No. It starts with a B. correct?
Oh, Bormio?
No, it was the place that you guys went to and you said it was really cool and it's local there, like in Cottleville. Chris and Joe were there this weekend.
BMO's. BMO's is in
We've been there.
Cottleville.
We've been there before. That place is pretty good. But it had a different name. You've been there with your girlfriends. I sent you guys, like, I paid the bill that one time you guys went there. The Pink Willow.
Oh, the brunch spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cute little spot. The
Yeah.
pink brunch spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that new Oak Street Inn, they got the rooftop up there at the top. But I just went to a Father's Day event at they had axe throwing up at Frankie Martin's. They had a bunch of dads up there throwing axes. It was actually, I was like, well, they're throwing axes like out in the field. No, they have a truck. It's like a semi. You like stand in it and you throw it so the axes aren't flying everywhere.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's a cool area. There's a cool spot called Nodo's Pizza. Over there.
Nodo is great.
Yeah, it's hard to get a reservation there. You got to actually
that
plan for
place.
that. You can't just walk in there.
True. Oh, another place we love, Katie's Pizza.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Katie's awesome. Yeah, she's been our best episode ever on our show was Katie.
Oh yeah.
Like as far as downloads, I'm like, dude, like people, like I mean, it went crazy.
Yeah.
Like on YouTube. But we had Nikki Glazer, which was one of our top on YouTube. But then on as far as like downloads, Katie, because she dropped her book the same time the podcast came out. We kind of were riding that wave of all that PR that she was getting. But her story is insane too.
Yeah.
That'd be a good one. But yeah, we've had all these incredible conversations, but it's good to like, get some dad advice. I think that, we've never really focused on fatherhood on our podcast. We just focus on St. Louis entrepreneurs, things to do and events. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate your time coming on the show. For those that want to learn more about your program, where's the best place to go? Is it your website? Do you do a lot on Instagram? I mean, where do you think the best place for people to start at is?
So I post a lot on Instagram. So, and I answer all my own DMs and all that good stuff. And so I love to post on my story. I always try to inspire people. We talked a lot about marriage and we talked a lot about like getting out of that, I would say that rut of like, only talking about parenting stuff. I do have a free resource on my website. It's called 25 Intimate Conversation Starters. If your listeners go to thedadedge.com/25 questions, that's 25 questions.
Yeah.
It's a PDF downloadable. And then it comes with a 15-minute, like just video training that I do. The video training just gives you more of the deep psychology around why deeper questions actually create exactly what we're talking about, which is connection, right?
Right.
And also to kind of get out of our own way of like, we want to ask our wives, how was your day? How was the kids? Like, how'd everything go today? Versus like, tell me about a time where you felt really loved by me and why did you pick that time? Something like that. So I've got a list of 25 questions. I always say, print it off, look at it on your phone, go on a date night and have fun with it. And it's totally free.
So I see a lot of the stuff that you do specifically is around marriage. Have you ever thought about, the branding as the Dad Edge? Is there any other branding that you talked about with like just marriage specifically, or is it all under being a dad as being, a good husband?
Yeah, I think you actually said it earlier. Not that you have to have like an on-point marriage to be a good dad. I mean, there's a lot of marriages out there where, they're kind of in trouble, or like you have a single dad or a blended family and the dad is, but I think that there is, from a psychological output, like if a man's marriage is on point, he feels pretty good about life. And he also feels, he's usually a more patient father, more resilient father. So usually I personally think it starts with getting that house in order first, which is your marriage.
Yeah.
Then I think the other stuff I don't say it falls like a domino, but it is easier to do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that like about like the people that I take advice from, I used to just listen to everything on the internet, and now I'm really, really careful about who I even listen to.
Yeah.
And there's a quote, I forgot who said it, but it's like, ask advice from people that have what you have and have been where you've been. So, have you been where I've been as a 29-year-old, young dad? Yes. Okay. Boom. And then have you done so you listen to people, because a lot of times like your family will say, oh, well, you guys should do this. And it's like, well, you've been divorced 3 times. It's like, I don't want to get divorced, you know? So it's like, you listen to people that have what you want and have been where you've been. And I think that's a good resource for people. But no, Larry, I'm excited, man. I'm glad you guys came into the studio. Glad you made it out with your leg, and would love the opportunity to do some stuff on your show. I feel like having a young dad's approach would be awesome. So I'm excited to kind of continue the conversation. But hey, great to meet you, man. Thank you. Yep. See you guys next week.
Hey, St. Louis, Brent Labowitz, Labowitz Law Firm, personal injury law firm here in St. Louis. Excited to be part of the STL Bucket List and sponsor them for their podcast. Just want to go ahead and say, if you ever need a personal injury lawyer here in town in St. Louis, give us a call, look us up. If you get involved in an accident of any type at all, give us a call, free case evaluation. We'll try to walk you through the process.
Today, they rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, bucket list has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home. Yeah.